for Whimsicott. Obviously, Ross has the 4 copies of Spiral Energy, which are really strong special energy cards that this deck would love to utilize, but you've also got 2 basic energies. And as a one-prize Pokemon, being able to hit for big one-hit knockouts on a Whimsicott V-Star, that is definitely what Ross will try to set up. Ross did prize a couple of Sobbles, which is really unfortunate for this deck. You really rely on Drizzile to get your setup going, so not the best thing to see in your prize cards, but this is a great card to see in your opening hand if you're Ross. It looks like a Brawly going second.
Brawly is one of the best supporter cards, if not the best supporter card to play on your first turn. Going second can grab any 3 basic Rapid Strike Pokemon out of the deck, get them into play. Almost certainly going to be seeing some Inkay come down into play. Keep Calling is a great attack as well in this deck. I think just the main thing for Ross is has a basic Psychic Energy in hand, has to decide, do I want to commit this? But starting things off with some more Pokemon in play, can't really ask for more.
Yeah, so as the Whimsicott player, what you want to do in this matchup is get rid of all the basic Psychic Energy. So Ross has 2 basic Psychics and 1 Ordinary Rod. So if Wilfredo can get rid of 4 basic Psychic Energies throughout the game, the 2 Psychic, and then obviously if Ross gets them back with Ordinary Rod, then Wilfredo can just lock Ross out of ever being able to attach energy again. So it's really going to be a resource war, and I would be curious to see if Ross will even decide to attach this Psychic Energy, knowing how important that resource will be, especially since since Brawly is already filling up the bench so much. I don't know how much value you can really get from Keep Calling.
Yeah, the one thing we have to see is this is a very interesting choice. If you're only grabbing 1 Inkay, it's that scary thought of what if my opponent is able to gust it up and take a knockout because of that turn 1 attachment. As looking at the list here of what options there are, I believe Boss's Orders is in the deck for Wilfredo. So
for sure.
We'll have that option and playing a few copies of those.
Yeah, could even go for the Fluffball Star potentially. And we see Ross is playing Pokemon Catcher and hits a heads, bringing up this Bidoof. That'll definitely be a little annoying for Wilfredo. We'll now need to find an Air Balloon to retreat this if he wants to pull off an attack with Whimsicott this turn. And I think Ross wisely here deciding not to attach the Psychic Energy to Sobble. Don't want to worry about getting that in play. But by only getting 1 Inkay, an opening here for Wilfredo is to use the Fluffball Star V-Star power and just take a knockout on the only Inkay that Ross has in play.
Yeah, looking at this list, some interesting inclusions is playing the Luminion V with Luminous Sign to grab some supporters out. But this Catch Your Heads means that we'll have to see a way to pivot out with the active, something like an Air Balloon.
I think there is the Air Balloon there in hand.
Yeah, so much bling. It's blinding my eyes here. I'm trying to see what's in the hand.
All these gold cards kind of just blend together. So yeah, it does have the Air Balloon. Also, Ultra Ball here can grab Bibarel, so we'll see even more cards drawn with that Industrious Incisors ability.
Yeah, and like you said, that Fluffball Star is a very solid option. You don't need to lock your opponent out of playing special energies if they can't deal damage to you the following turn.
That's right. Yeah, you don't care if Ross puts a Spiral Energy on his Remoraid, right? So you don't mind it too much. Just taking that threat of the Inkay that can become a Malamar out of play is really strong for Wilfredo here.
Yeah, I believe this is actually the first deck search, so very smart from Wilfredo. Going to check the prize cards,
for sure.
Check to see what options are available, what is not. But
yeah, I don't think anything too bad was prized for Wilfredo. A bunch of searching cards, which you don't love to see, but Wilfredo's been able to set up pretty consistently still, so not too big of a deal, I would say.
Yeah, we see, looks like Max Bling, all the shiny cards in this.
Hey,
even as the, I love it, I love it.
I respect it for sure. Love to see it. Players, you know, maybe trading up, you know, opening a bunch of packs, getting the gold cards to bling their deck out. Wilfredo rocking some gold Psychic Energies as well. The golden Air Balloon coming down onto the Bidoof, now becoming Bibarel, which will be able to now have free retreat since it does only have a retreat of 2.
Does still have access to Industrious and Scissors. I think just debating to play down this Whimsicott, and we are actually going to, interestingly enough, see the Trick Win. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is fine if you're thinking Ross doesn't have a basic energy, and even this early in the game, it can be hard for Ross to reach for a one-hit knockouts. He needs to get 7 Rapid Strike cards into hand and put them back into the deck with Rapid Strike Tentacles. So that can be difficult. This might just be Wilfredo saying, hey, I don't think you have it this turn.
Yeah, it looks like we will see Pokemon Catcher Heads. It's a weird thought process, but Ross may actually have been trying to thin the card out of the hand to flip tails. It's a very weird line, but by doing that, you give yourself 1 more out to draw a Rapid Strike card off of something like Cynthia's Ambition, which we haven't even got to talk about that yet. We keep talking about it, but it is the supporter card that allowed this deck to come back and perform.
Yeah, that new card from Brilliant Stars, extremely powerful in one-prize decks, and Malamar seems to be the best one-prize deck at the time, so Cynthia's Ambition can just fill your hand all the way up to 8 if your opponent took a knockout on the last turn. So by Ross playing this Pokemon catcher, it tells me a couple of things. You know, obviously Ross wants to thin the card out, like you mentioned, draw one more card off the Cynthia's Ambition, but this also is much easier to KO this turn than Whimsicott. It's really unlikely Ross was going to get to 7 Rapid Strike cards in hand, and 2-hit KOing the Whimsicott is still okay, but if you bring up this Bibarel and target your opponent's draw power, that can be really strong as well.
It could be strong indeed. There is the Cynthia's Ambition grabbed off of the Shady Dealings on the Drizzile. Already has the Malamar in hand, already has the basic Psychic Energy in hand, but there's a few cards you can't get rid of, like that Ordinary Rod. You need to bring back the 2 Psychic Energy once they're both gone. Luckily for Ross, does not have any prized away. That would be a pretty big deal. Gonna just have to suffer with a few of these Sobbles being prized instead.
Does get that Psychic Energy attachment. There is the Rapid Strike Malamar, and looks like Cynthia's Ambition can draw 6 cards. That's a pretty solid amount, and you only have to reveal 3 and put them back into the deck with Rapid Strike Tentacles to knock out the 120 HP Bibarel.
So looking at this hand, the options does find Fog Crystal. I believe, drawn to another Cynthia. If that was not a Cynthia, there's potentially a way to get a total of 7 Rapid Strike cards, but the fact that the Bibarel got brought up means that you're only going to need 3 to take this knockout.
Yeah,
so.
this is looking really good for Ross to go for the big one-hit knockout on a Whimsicott on the next turn. This Fog Crystal can get Inkay. There's another Fog Crystal in hand, which can get the basic Psychic out of the deck on the next turn. Level Ball, we see a bunch of Rapid Strike cards already there with the Spiral Energy. Scoop Up Net is already in hand, so plenty of options for Ross. One of the main problems here, though, will be the fact that Ross did prize several Sobbles, so won't be able to fill the bench up here with these 2 level balls in hand with multiple Sobbles.
Yeah, looks like eyeing up grabbing 1, maybe a Inkay as well for the following turn, maybe something to get rid of with Rapid Strike Tentacles. You still need to get 3 cards out of the hand, so we will see that first Inkay get grabbed, the second Inkay off the level ball, and almost certain we'll see at least 1 get benched, as well as some more of these cards just getting played. You need to grab these cards to put them back into the deck. The fact that that Drizzile is already in play means that Inteleon is a very reasonable option the following turn. And like you said, looking for those 7 cards on the following turn, but while you're at it, you're going to take a 1 prize knockout. You're going to start to stunt your opponent's draw power a little bit, and more importantly, build these hands up and build your board up to be able to get these big knockouts.
Yeah, Ross could play the Scoop Up Net in hand and reset the Drizzile so that you can use Shady Dealings on the next turn, and it looks like he will choose to do that. I was going to be interested to see if this is what he went for. There's a couple of different arguments here. By playing the Scoop Up Net now, you burn a non-Rapid Strike card out of the hand, so you can dig for even more on the next turn, but it means you won't be able to get to Shady Dealings and Inteleon on the next turn.
Ross will match Wilfredo, go into 5 prize cards.
Yep.
Things are starting out. Gonna just be able to shuffle the deck up. Wilfredo will get things rocking off the bat. Eyeing up the top deck, I believe found maybe another Air Balloon. You really need to make sure you can get a bench Whimsicott with an energy or be able to power up one the following turn, because this Whimsicott getting knocked out the following turn for Ross is a very reasonable possibility.
And speaking of benched Whimsicott with an energy, Wilfredo must have heard you, because there it is right there in the hand. But Wilfredo, I don't think, has any supporters in hand, just an Ultra Ball, and that's actually going to discard both cards in Wilfredo's hand. So whatever card Wilfredo grabs here is going to be his only card in hand, but looks like luckily does play the 1 copy of Crobat V, and that is a huge bailout here.
Yeah, I got a little scared when I saw Luminion get discarded early. I was thinking, oh, is that the support mod instead of Crobat like we saw in Frank Perzik's deck? Instead, at this point, it's going to be the Crobat get grabbed, the hand will get filled up to 6. You know your opponent has already burned 2 Pokemon catch. It'll be interesting to see how many Ross is eyeing up playing, because that is a big card to be able to gust some Pokemon up. Very interesting to see. We've seen some of these lists play 1 to 2. Ross opting to play 4 copies of that card.
Yeah, not what I would have expected. A lot of players these days are playing like a couple of escape ropes in their Malamar deck for the Arceus matchup, but Ross just wants to be a little more aggressive, plays those catchers, and yeah, it's been working out fine. He's flipped a couple of heads so far in this game. Wilfredo will take the knockout with Trick Wind, locking Ross out of playing any Pokemon Tool or Special Energy cards this turn. So Ross will need to find the basic Psychic. But lucky for him, it looks like that Fog Crystal is already in hand.
Yeah, I have the discard pile, seeing how we can possibly get to 7 Rapid Strike cards this turn. The Rescue Carrier can be a +1 from the hand. Opting to actually play it before the Cynthia's Ambition. So Looks like valuing just getting these Pokemon into play and then drawing some cards.
Yeah, I think Ross wants to still get a little set up here. Even if he has to two-hit KO this Whimsicott, it's not the end of the world. You're still prize trading favorably into it. Though if you hit really good cards off of this Cynthia's Ambition, it is very possible. You're going to draw up to 8, so you just need 7 of them to be Rapid Strikes, and that's a knockout.
Hey, it's possible, right? Anything is possible at this point with the Rapid Strike Malamar deck, but does have the second Psychic Energy. We see the Malamar is in deck as well. This will almost certainly grab the basic Psychic.
Yep.
And then going back into the deck, we'll be able to grab the Malamar off of the Evolution Incense. And this will be a big 7 cards here.
Yeah, can actually even grab the Octillery potentially so that you can Rapid Strike search for the Malamar on the other end of the Cynthia's Ambition, and that is what Ross chooses to do. So now, if he draws into the Malamar, he can Rapid Strike search for something else. Octillery is so good in these Rapid Strike decks, but specifically in the Rapid Strike Malamar lists.
We will see the Evolution Incense grab. And I actually like this. Can just grab the
Yeah,
Malamar right
good.
now, play it down.
Yep.
And then you will go ahead and draw 7 cards, plus the 1 off the Octillery means
Yep.
that only 6 of these now need to be Rapid Strike cards.
Yeah, a knockout here is very possible from Ross. Does have the 1 Ordinary Rod in hand, which is not a Rapid Strike card, so is really going to be relying on what the draw is. But it is nice to have access to the Ordinary Rod because that's what you're going to want to play on the next turn to get these Psychic Energies back, because one's already in the discard pile, and you're expecting the active one to go down if Wilfredo can pull together a attack on the next turn.
So here we go, big 7 cards off of this Cynthia's Ambition. A few Rapid Strike cards.
I see a Scoop Up Net.
Yes, that can pick up the Octillery
Yep,
for
yep.
+1, or just become an even card to pick up the Drizzile. Not re-bench the Salvo. Looks like counting out the hand.
Yep,
What do we
1,
have?
2.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Has the Scoop Up Net. That's +2 from the Octillery.
5 with the Evolution Incense can grab Malamar.
And then
6, 7. So we are there 100%. Plus the Octillery means that you'd only have to play one of these Scoop Up Nets, as Octillery will grab the last card.
And you can even Scoop Up Net the Drizzile to reset that for the next turn as well. So this is a really excellent hand from Ross. I think he's got it here. Just has to find all the pieces. And hopefully there is enough Pokemon in the deck to grab off this Evolution Instance. There should be plenty of Malamars, maybe a second Octillery, something like that to reveal. And it looks like Malamar will be grabbed. So it'll be grabbed for now, but it will likely be going back into the deck.
2 more needed to take this knockout. We
Yep.
will see the Rapid Strike Search, the card that I wouldn't say makes this function, but it allows it to be as successful as it is. Grabbing out a Rapid Strike card every turn, it allows your Pokemon to get powered up, set up, or in cases like this, just be an extra 40 damage.
This is perfect for Ross. He's going to get there. Scoop Up Net can pick up Octillery. Maybe we'll pick up Drizzile as well for the next turn. I think just showing, yes, I did grab the Spiral Energy there off of my Rapid Strike Search. Is going to leave the Octillery in play and just go with putting the Sobble back in the deck. And I like this as well because now you keep your Rapid Strike Search around. So that makes a lot of sense. Heads-up decision from Ross.
And there we go. We see the Rapid Strike Tentacles take the knockout.
Nice.
Going to draw into a Sobble, so a few
A
more
couple of
Rapid Strike
cards. Yeah, exactly.
What you want to see, but action is on. Wilfredo eyeing up. It looks like decided to either top deck the Bidoof or eyed up not playing that down the last turn. Means that there's going to be a little less dig power going into this. At minimum, can take a knockout, but if you give your opponent an extra turn to now get down a Spiral Energy, it's going to be that much easier to continue to chain attacks together.
Yeah, if Wilfredo does not have a supporter here to dig for a double Turbo Energy and just has to go for the Fluffball Star, that is less than ideal. You can target down the Sobble on the bench and try to limit as much of Ross's draw as you can, but it's less than ideal. You really want to be knocking out these Malamars when you can.
Ooh.
Or just go for a little bit of a stall play, bringing up the Octillery. This could work out sometimes, and Wilfredo will go for that Fluffball Star and targets down that Sobble. I do like this decision. Try to get rid of that Drizzile out, because you know Ross has a Drizzile in hand.
Absolutely. We will see Wilfredo go down to 3 prize cards, even has the Fan of Waves in hand, just in case an energy comes down.
Yep.
You could say, well, I've got Fan plus Trick Wind, so that energy, it's almost like it was never there.
Absolutely. And Ross is actually left with a pretty awkward hand here because that Drizzile option is not available. He doesn't have a way to get Cynthia's Ambition into hand. Can use the Rapid Strike Search to get Karina's Focus, but he's actually got a high amount of cards in hand, so I think it's pretty tough for Ross to even draw much off the Karinas.
I'm trying to see how many do we spot. So there's 4 Rapid Strike cards in hand, plus a Scoop Up that can bring it to 6, plus the Rapid Strike Search. So it's actually theoretical to play no supporter card
Yeah.
and get the knockout at this point. Plus, the Rapid Strike Search would get you to 7, and this is where you've got to really map your prizes out. Ross, you see, with a little notepad, taking notes, knows exactly what cards are prized every single game to make a game plan around what do I think is the most reasonable play, what am I going to draw into most likely off of my prize cards, as the Rapid Strike Search will grab any Rapid Strike card out of the deck. In this case, don't know if it will be too relevant, but we'll have to see.
I actually wonder here if Ross has a line where he could grab Brawly from the deck and then use the Ordinary Rod, put 2 basic Pokemon back, and then Brawly to reset his bench up. And he's not going to mind putting back just 1 basic Psychic Energy off the Ordinary Rod because he's still getting off an attack this turn.
There we see the late game Brawly.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to use the Ordinary Rod here. It seems like there's enough Pokemon in the deck, so it works out just fine.
Has a Sobble, Remoraid, and an Inkay. Can get those all into play just fine and keep the others into the hand. And this is actually the perfect 3 that I think you would even want to grab at this point. Besides, you don't really need the Inkay down, but hey, might as well have it for now. You're going to need it down the line.
Yeah, and getting the Remoraid here is actually really good because
nice.
you can scoop up net the active Octillery. That's +2 Rapid Strike cards to hand, and you have a Remoraid on the bench to evolve into an Octillery on the next turn.
Yeah, and Ross actually making a smart decision to not bench the Inkay, understands it's not a necessity. I have the cards already in hand to make this play possible and have the Octillery for the following turn. I want the Inkay to deal damage, not to sit on my bench. But this is going to be interesting. The cards are all there, and it looks like confident enough to even just play the other Sobble down. I'm not sure.
Yeah, not going to be hitting for a 1-hit knockout here, but he's going to be hitting into this Whimsicott, which is still good. A 2-hit KO is all right. Is actually going to hold off on going in with an attack. Okay. I mean, this is actually kind of smart as well from Ross. This could be a big crushing hammer. That is a Tails. But this is actually kind of smart from Ross because you know Wilfredo did not attach an energy last turn and did not play a supporter card. So this is Ross kind of saying, I don't think you have anything. I think I'm going to be able to buy a turn by just passing, and you've already used your V-Star power, so you might just have to pass this next turn.
Yeah, eyeing up the supporter cards already played. It feels so bad when you're having this tough of draws and you've only gone through 2 of your draw supporters so far. It's just one of those feelings where it feels tough, but Palpad can at least put back the Research and the Raihan 2 live outs for following turns to be able to get you back into this game. EXP share means that Wilfredo's not out of things if this Whimsicott gets knocked out in the active, but you're not applying pressure and you're letting a deck that wants to set up quickly have even more time to set up these big knockouts. Things are going to get scary here for Wilfredo. 3
prizes apiece for these players. It is definitely still either player's game, but that is a huge whiff from Wilfredo, and now a massive opening for Ross to capitalize. Can get a Spiral Energy in play here if he wants as well. So this is looking really nice for Ross Cawthon.
Things are looking good indeed. Can even scoop up net the Octillery and then utilize it. Again, you can only use 1 Rapid Strike Search per turn, so you can't utilize that ability more than once. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a lot more Octilleries in this engine if you could just guarantee grab those pieces out. But nevertheless, still going to see the Shady Dealings Drizzile come down into play. Could grab something to fill the hand back up. The problem is Cynthia's Ambition will only fill to 5 because no Pokemon was knocked out. So we could honestly just see no supporter play this turn and just getting some more pieces to be able to get these knockouts.
Interesting to note, in Ross's list, does not play the copy of Tower of Water. So the only way to move this Octillery is via Scoop Up Net, which you don't mind utilizing too much. And it looks like Ross will determine that now is the time to play the Ordinary Rod. Just going to double check what exactly is in the discard. And yeah, Ordinary Rod gets played. Can get back up to 2 Pokemon and energy cards back into the deck. Basic energy cards, that is. And it looks like a Malamar and a Psychic. And I couldn't see exactly what else he grabbed here, but those will get shuffled back in. And we'll see if Ross has enough. I'm not sure. 7 is a lot to get when you're not playing Cynthia's Ambition for turn. So it can be tough to hit that much damage whenever your opponent did not take a knockout on the previous turn. But after a turn of passing, Ross has built up the hand a little bit more, so he may be really close to getting here.
Close indeed. We are going to see the Spiral Energy come down onto the Inkay, and the Cynthia's Ambition will get played to fill the hand up to 6. Or excuse me, Karina's Focus, filling the hand up to 6 cards. Deciding what else do I need to make this possible. I believe drew into all Rapid Strike cards or outs to Rapid Strike cards, so that is a very feasible line for Ross to commit to. We know there is still 1 more Inkay left in the deck, so Fog Crystal can get played to grab the final Inkay out. Or I believe, the last Inkay is there as well as the basic Psychic, so we will see the Inkay.
Yeah.
be the selected target off of the Fog Crystal.
And Ross is actually going to be able to get to 7 here. He can use the Drizzile in hand to go get another card that's a Rapid Strike out. So that is an additional option. Can get either a Brawly or a Karinas here. Has not used Rapid Strike Search even. That's always something that it's easy to keep track, or easy to lose track of, I should say. When has this Rapid Strike Search been used? Because you draw so many cards and you're like, oh yeah, I still have this +1 available to me as well.
Great sequencing as well from Ross to use that at the end of the turn after the Karina's focus to maximize the amount of cards that are Rapid Strike cards to draw. Very solid indeed. Has the scoop up net to pivot this Octillery out of the active. It looks like has the Malamar already set up, has the cards necessary. We're just going to see everything come into place, and Ross should be able to take this knockout. Yeah,
you can see Ross's deck is actually down on the the bottom of the table there, like at the top of the screen, I should say, because he knows he's going back into the deck. He knows he's going to be searching the deck again or putting cards back in with the Rapid Strike Search, and sure enough, 7 cards going back in. That is a one-hit knockout, and Ross is going to go down to just 1 prize card remaining. Wilfredo still needing to take 3 knockouts, does get the EXP share, but what is the top deck? Boss's orders. And I think Wilfredo sees, I can't win the game. I just got to scoop it up, and Ross Cawthon's going to win game 1 in really convincing fashion.
Yeah, we see Trick Wind is a great attack against a lot of these decks with special energy, but the 2 Psychic Energy seems to be enough for Ross to be able to close things out. Going into this next game, you're going to be able to go first here if you're Wilfredo. Get set up. Just to start things out, do you even go first against a deck like Malamar that wants to go second?
Yeah, Malamar is one of these decks that can really function going first or second. I still think it loves to go second, so you can play Brawly or use Keep Calling. But even if you go first, you've got Fog Crystals and Level Balls. There's plenty of outs to get down all your basic Pokemon. I think as Wilfredo, you're a deck that just wants to start attacking as quickly as possible. Attack on turn 2, so going first is still really nice. So you can try to get that turn 2 Trick Wind because you do require 2 attachments and an evolution in order to pull off your attack.
And moving into things, do you feel like if you're Ross, the same strategy applies to pick off these support Pokemon, or do you just try to go gung-ho and go after these Whimsicott V-Stars?
Yeah, Ross has several different options. Can just play based on how strong his hand is. If he's got the gas to go for the big one-hit knockout on Whimsicott early on in the game, he can do that. But if not, he's got those catchers to take easier knockouts on Bibarel. And we saw how detrimental it was for Wilfredo to not have access to Bibarel to keep using that consistent draw power throughout the entire game.
Yeah, we see Ross is ready to show his opponent, I've got no basics in hand. Flashes the hand. This will be a lot more beneficial to Wilfredo. Has extra cards to work with to start things out. And we'll get the prize cards underway as well. Air Balloon in the prize cards, a boss as well. Nothing too crazy that we're going to be seeing on Wilfredo's end. Ross, however, we're going to have to look up for those prize cards.
Definitely. It is a little annoying to prize a Bidoof and a Whimsicott. You know, these basic Pokemon, you want to get several of them in play quickly. You ideally, at the end of turn 1, want to have at least 1 Bidoof and 1 Whimsicott in hand. And it looks like Ross has another mulligan, so that's just another card that Wilfredo's going to have to add to the hand, and more outs to potentially get these Pokemon in play, and hopefully also get an energy attachment to a Whimsicott.
Every card matters in the Pokemon trading card game. Yep. It can make or break a match, and especially if you are starting the game out, which I mean, as you said, this deck wants to go first. Whimsicott wants to put aggression on fast and quickly. Every card is going to matter in the opening hand. All Wilfredo's really looking for is that Whimsicott, the energy attachment. Bidoof down is extra icing on the cake, but those are the big 2 things you're looking for.
Jeez, another mulligan here from Ross, and a little bit of an eye roll too. I think he's definitely annoyed to see that because he knows giving his opponent more cards is just beneficial for the opponent and not good for him.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well where it just also eats up more time on the clock. The clock is still rolling throughout all of this. You've now spent a couple minutes just drawing opening hands, shuffling up, and repeating the process over and over again. And we're at about 18 minutes, a little less than 18 minutes to go. It looks like in this round, there's a pretty long game number 1.
Yeah, it moved pretty briskly, it felt like to me, but it did, you know, if the pace of the game keeps up, you know, sometimes these 1 prize decks just take a long time to take all their prizes. A bunch of Rapid Strike cards here in the prizes for Ross. Actually only plays 3 copies of Karina's Focus, so having 2 of those in the prizes could definitely be annoying.
Action's getting kicked off here for Wilfredo. Game 2 of round number 5. Starting things off with a Fog Crystal. We'll be able to grab the basic Psychic Energy.
Yep.
Excuse me, we still have halfway through on this round, so a little bit of clock mismanagement on my end, but still plenty of time to potentially play 3 games of Pokemon. Yeah,
there's plenty of time here still. Wilfredo does use the Fog Crystal, gets the basic Psychic out. I love Fog Crystal because it is such a good consistency option for decks that can utilize it. Any Psychic deck can either get a basic energy to attach for turn, or you can get your basic Pokemon to set your board up. Just whatever you need, you have available.
Has Quick Ball as well to advance the board state. Understands Path to Peak, not a card I'm going to be playing this matchup. Ross is not going to be playing down any of those V Pokemon. We don't have any of those new Pokemon coming out with rule boxes in the following set, so just going to have to stick with the V Pokemon for now.
Wilfredo eyeing up the Bidoof, definitely what you want to get into play. And you can see how beneficial it was for Wilfredo to get those mulligans. Ross not being able to find basics in the early game really hurt quite a bit because Wilfredo just got extra cards to start the game, more outs to finding energy and Pokemon. Also has another Whimsicott V he could put down if he wants to. That is kind of just like another catcher target, though I guess Ross could always just catch up the Bidoof anyway. So just chooses to hold off and passes over to Ross, which is fine because if you're going off the assumption that Ross is playing a pretty standard Malamar deck, you know that there's no way to disrupt your hand. So you don't need to bench the other Whimsicott here. So Wilfredo just chooses to pass it over to Ross, who kicks things off with a Brawly, exactly what he wants to see.
And this is a very solid hand. Has a Fog Crystal as well as the Spiral Energy. There's no way to, with this hand, to keep calling additionally, but you can at least get an energy down onto an Inkay and force a Hammer or a Fan of Waves to come out to disrupt things. But regardless, able to get the Pokemon out of the deck. Ross going to take some time to, again, prize check, understand what cards are available, what can be accessed, and what cards are locked away in the prize cards to play off of that. Ross, an experienced player, is going to do this every time he starts a game out.
Yeah, Ross has been playing Pokemon for just about as long as you could have been playing Pokemon, so he knows how important prize cards are, and knowing what you have available to you through the course of the game, very important. Brawly will grab 2 Sobbles and an Inkay, has the Remoraid in the active, and if he does have the Fog Crystal, like you mentioned, can get a second Inkay. This is looking pretty solid.
Yeah, again, just takes me back to Wilfredo's play in the first game of not Fluffball starring that lone Inkay in play.
That's true.
To get that out. We'll see if Ross sort of says, hey, my opponent didn't do this the first game. That route I don't think is going to be what they take the following game in game number 2. It's a lot better if you can just guarantee the Psychic Energy attachment right now and play a little bit less risky. Or play a little bit more risky, rather, and not grabbing the other Inkay.
Yeah, I think Wilfredo would probably be more likely to target down an Inkay if he saw a Psychic Energy get attached to it. So I think this is, you know, a wise decision from Ross. Just go ahead and get a second Inkay in play. Respect the possibility of your opponent just going for that Fluffball Star on turn number 1, or turn number 2, their first turn of attacking, and get that second Inkay in play. So even if that happens, you are just fine with it.
Spiral Energy playing down now before Trick Wind comes into play to shake things up. Action over on to Wilfredo. I think I see a Bibarel and an Ultra Ball in his hand as well, so we can thin down, maybe draw some cards, a few pieces you don't really necessarily want to see off the bat. Also, it just has the Whimsicott V-Star, so if we did see that Whimsicott come down, this Ultra Ball could grab a lot better of a target, another V-Star to evolve and get that into play, but instead, it may just be something like a double Ultra Ball to thin his hand all the way to 0, and then Industrious and Scissors all the way back up.
Yeah, really just looking for double turbo energy here. Wilfredo has everything else he needs. The backup Whimsicott, the Whimsicott in the active with an energy. It's already become a V-Star. I guess the other thing you would really love to find here is that EXP share, that experience share. Get that onto the benched Whimsicott. So if Ross has a pop-off turn and can one-hit KO your Whimsicott, you get to absorb that energy back so you can still stream together attacks.
Just what you want to see. We'll have to see what the target off of this Ultra Ball is.
Something kind of interesting Wilfredo could do, and this would be kind of risky because Wilfredo doesn't know Ross's list, but we know that Ross only has Scoop Up Net to move Remoraid out of the active. So what if Wilfredo went for the Fluffball Star onto an Inkay, and also is combining this potentially with the Avery, and Avery here could be really annoying for Ross because he's going to have to discard one of these Pokemon that's on the bench.
Avery, one of these cards we saw pop up at the Europe International Championships and has continued to see play since then, and this is where you've got to make a very tough decision. Discarding the Sobble off of the Avery, and we'll have to see what these 3 cards are. We have not seen Industrious and Scissors yet as well, so that is a potential to draw some more cards. Looking at some more thinnable cards out of the hand, Ultra Ball, Fog Crystal, all potential plays for Wilfredo.
Yeah, what if Wilfredo here just fluffball starred the Sobble? You don't care about the double Inkays in play. You got rid of one Sobble, you can fluffball star another one. That makes it much less likely that Ross is going to be able to do anything on the next turn, and it really is going to stunt his setup even in future turns past this.
I like that line a lot. I think that is very sensible. No hand knowledge, obviously, on Wilfredo's side. Doesn't know that Ross is sitting on something like a Cynthia's Ambition already in hand, but you got to play to your outs. You got to play to the best line. That's what Pokemon is all about. And with the Psychic Energy getting attached, I think that's the route that Wilfredo's going to go for.
We'll use the Bibarel to draw 4 cards off the Industrious Incisors. Already attached for turn, so double turbo is not going to be super helpful. Evolution Incense is good for next turn, though. Can get the second Bibarel in play. And Fan of Waves can pop that Spiral Energy back into the deck, making Ross find maybe one more piece, because otherwise maybe Ross could have like attached an energy to the active Remoraid to retreat it. Now is going to need to scoop up net plus get an energy onto an Inkay. And this is exactly what Wilfredo is going to go for, and I like this decision. Take out that Sobble, limit Ross's draw, and force Ross to kind of have something here, because Drizzile is so important for this deck.
Yeah, and with these playable cards in hand, we are going to see Pokemon Catcher at minimum bring up most likely the... Ooh, thinks that there's the potential to get the knockout onto this Whimsicott. Going to bring it up into the active. I feel otherwise you'd rather just bring the Bidoof up. Something that does not have an air balloon. We are going to see this Cynthia's Ambition fill the hands up to 8. And these are going to be some big cards to find. Do we see something like an Octillery to get the hand? Or rather grab those Rapid Strike pieces? No scoop up net though, so this Octillery, or Remoraid rather, will not be moving. Yeah,
no attack this turn from Ross. So that's a big opening from Wilfredo. Would have been, I don't know, if Ross brings up the Bidoof, you force your opponent to find an air balloon. There's already one in play. But by bringing up this Whimsicott, he does leave himself the option to potentially take a 2-prize KO this turn, which would be nice if you could get there. So I like this decision as well, but it's just not quite going to work out for Ross. He's going to just have to take this turn to re-establish the board. So kind of playing a turn behind here. Just get another Sobble or 2 in play if you can. Looks like there's another level ball in the hand, so that would be nice to potentially get another Sobble. I don't think prized any this game. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Just a Drizzile in the prizes. So getting a couple Sobbles down, surely your opponent can't get rid of both of those, right? There's no way there's going to be another Avery or a Boss's Orders onto the Sobble, right?
Yeah, surely there's no way to gust it up, right? Yeah. I mean, at this point, you have to assume your opponent has so many ways to draw through cards. I believe no Boss's Orders hit the discard pile yet. That is always a possibility, but with how wacky the start of this game has been, with the V-Star power on turn 2, knocking out both Sobbles from play, one being knocked out and the other one discarded with Avery, you've got to wonder at this point, what can you do? But hey, you know what's better than getting one Sobble down to the play chip? Get them both in.
Yep, level ball can grab 2 level balls, grabs 2 Sobbles ready to go, and there's no way Wilfredo can deal with both of them, so Ross is guaranteeing at least 1 Shady Dealings on the next turn. Wilfredo does have that Evolution Incense in hand. I'll be interested to see what this grabs. It could get the Bibarel to keep drawing, or you could just go ahead and get that Whimsicott V-Star right away so that you can just attack with this active, and sure enough, Wilfredo grabs the Whimsicott and will likely be evolving very shortly. Now just going to be looking for a double turbo energy to get off the Trick Wind here on this turn.
Wants to get that. And a very interesting choice, the Boss's Orders in hand.
Okay.
So at the same time, if you're going to knock something out, it still feels pretty decent to knock out this Remoraid so that you shut off Rapid Strike Surge. We are actually going to see the Air Balloon committed to the Bidoof. Everything else in play having 1 retreat cost, so it will be pretty easy, or a lot easier to pivot out, as we are just going to see 2 cards off Industrious and Scissors. Ordinary Rod and a Crobat, not exactly what you're looking for, no energy, and look at the rest of the hand. A Marnie, Research, Boss, a lot of options when it comes to supporters. Well, I'm not Boss anymore now that you have no more way to draw.
Yeah, Boss isn't going to help you here since there's no double turbo. Does have research, so can just really dig through the deck if he wants to, but is going to eye up the Marnie here because Ross was sitting on a pretty large hand, so this makes sense.
Marnie going to go ahead and shuffle both players' hands, put them to the bottom. Wilfredo's going to get 5. Ross getting 4 cards. Marnie's a card we haven't talked about a lot, but it can be pretty detrimental to such a high setup deck like Ross.
I don't think Wilfredo found the double turbo. He doesn't find the double turbo and is not going to be able to pull off an attack this turn. Is probably just going to have to pass. Yeah, Boss's Orders, Path to the Peak, and Crushing Hammer are the cards remaining there in hand. And Wilfredo, off the Marnie, just has to pass it back over to Ross. That is not very good.
No, not at all. Not what you want to see. Ross now has an opening. Evolution Incense in hand, can potentially grab the Octillery. Lots of options to work with to get things rolling. Just checking through to see what options are available. Looks like also has the Octillery in hand.
Yep.
So this could grab out a Malamar, a Drizzile piece. You're not going to be able to fill the hand all the way up because your opponent didn't take a knockout, but with this Malamar deck, your game plan revolves around your opponent knocking out Pokemon. You are completely happy to take some time off to build this hand up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I wonder if Ross even cares about trying to attack this turn. I feel like he's pretty fine to just chill and pass. He knows that even if Wilfredo takes this KO, if he has set his board up well enough, he'll be able to respond with a KO pretty quickly. So I don't even think he'll care about going aggressive for a knockout this turn at all.
Not at all. We see Drizzile finding the Karina's Focus. This is a great card to play when you're not playing Cynthia's Ambition to fill the hand up a little bit. Fog Crystal as well can grab a Psychic Energy, so maybe trying the luck a little bit here to see if it's possible.
I mean, it is possible that he could get the KO, so I mean, he may still be okay just kind of playing the cards out and seeing if he gets there, but not being too worried if he doesn't kind of deal, you know?
Absolutely. Looks like eyeing up the Inkay off of the Fog Crystal. Again, so playing a second Fog Crystal. I have to imagine you go for this just because you want to have an extra card to not draw into. So you don't want to draw into the Inkay if the Fog Crystal is the only target to grab Inkay.
Yeah, right, because then that Fog Crystal, you can still play it, but if it isn't getting you anything out of your deck, it's just a -1 in the hand. So playing it now, even though it's not really changing the number of cards you're going to draw off of a Karina's Focus, it does take one more card out of the deck and gets rid of a Fog Crystal, which could potentially draw you nothing. And also, if you're just going to bench the Inkay, that works as well.
It works indeed. Just going to get all of the Inkays down into play. Karina.
A 5-card Karina here.
Yeah, filling the hand up. Very unlikely that we see the knockout. No Scuba Net, it looks like, in the hand again. The piece that has just been missing almost every turn for Ross can technically grab it again off of this second Shady Dealings, but the cards are just not there to make this knockout happen, I believe.
Yeah, so Ross, by playing the Karina, I think he's saying, okay, if I just hit the perfect combo of cards, I can get the knockout here and be comfortable. But if I don't, it's not really that big of a deal. Now, Ross may scoop up net the Octillery and send up an Inkay for turn and just pass because you want to protect the Octillery potentially, keep it on the bench for the next turn, something like that. So I'll be interested to see if that's the route he goes for. He also could just go for an attack and just hit for a little bit, go for a 2-hit knockout. He really does have many different options available here.
Yeah, there's a really weird line where if you actually use the spinning attack on the Inkay, it does set the math up.
Okay.
So that you have one less. But
calm down there, man. I don't think we're seeing any spinning attacks out here.
Hey, listen, if there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, Inkay's going to try his best out here. Yeah, he would love to to get a shot in on the Whimsicott, but I think Ross thinks a little better of it and evolves into Malamar. And we'll just pass over to Wilfredo, who needs some help here from the top deck. Crushing Hammer, this could be a big flip. That is a Tails. That would have been huge to get rid of one of these Psychic Energies because Ross only has access to 4 throughout the game. And that's what we talked about at the beginning, right? If you can get rid of the 4 Psychic Energies before Ross takes all 6 prize cards, you just win the game as long as you keep using Trick Wind.
Need to keep that attack up for sure. Action over to Wilfredo. Is just going to start things out with a Marnie. Shuffling the hand into the deck, or to the bottom of the deck, drawing some more cards. Just really trying to find this double turbo energy. Needs to get this Trick Wind off, needs to apply pressure, because the more time you give Ross to set up to get these Pokemon evolved, the more opportunity, or rather the easier it's going to be to get that knockout with Rapid Strike Tentacles.
Does find the double turbo energy finally. Does find another Crushing Hammer as well, and this one will be a heads, getting rid of that Psychic Energy. Exactly what Wilfredo wanted to see. Evolution Incense can get the second Bibarel in place so we can start to see even more cards drawn. And this is really what Wilfredo was missing in that game number 1. Didn't have the consistent draw power set up, and he really struggled because of that, because there was no Bibarels in play, because Ross was able to take them out. But now with 2 set up, Wilfredo is going to be able to just get through the deck so much more efficiently.
The dream setup is here, has double Bibarel in play, the double Turbo Energy, can draw cards off Industrious and Scissors. Things are looking solid. It even has a backup double Turbo for the following turn. But at the same time, it just feels like, is this a little bit too late, do you think?
Oh, definitely not. Ross hasn't taken any prizes.
I mean...
So Trickwind will take the KO on the Octillery, takes a prize card, goes up 4 prizes to 6, but Ross can definitely fight back here. The Ordinary Rod is actually a pretty tough top deck because you don't want to really play it here. You want to play it whenever there's going to be multiple Psychic Energies being put back into the deck, and it is a non-Rapid Strike card, so it's not going to boost your Rapid Strike Tentacles damage output, and Ross needs to get a one-hit knockout here, really needs to get to the 280 damage from 7 Rapid Strike cards. Actually goes for the Pokemon Catcher, but does miss that flip, so won't be able to bring something up. I wonder if he would have just brought up Luminion or something like that there to just take an easier knockout for 2 prizes.
Yeah, I think the only route I see Ross playing this Ordinary Rod is if he confidently believes that with these 3 Psychic Energy in total, he can take a 3 2-prize knockouts.
There would only be 2 Psychic Energy, though, because there's 1 in the deck, 1 in the discard pile. So if he Ordinary Rods,
that's correct,
there's
yeah.
only 2 in the deck. So
That's correct, yeah.
I don't think he can play the Ordinary Rod because you need 3 Psychic Energies at minimum.
No, yeah, you're correct about that. Eyeing up a Fog Crystal and a Cynthia off of this Inteleon. And this is where Ross has got to find a solid lump of cards off of this Cynthia. Something big time needs to come out of this.
Yeah, there are a lot of Rapid Strike cards in the deck here. So Ross really hoping to draw into those, hoping not to see too many Pokemon Catchers, not to see too many other Cynthias or anything like that. Needs to find Rapid Strike cards or cards that can find Rapid Strike cards like the Level Balls or the Evolution Incenses.
Looks like we will see the Fog Crystal grab the Psychic Energy out of the deck, attaching, able to evolve this Malamar.
Okay.
And here's the Cynthia's Ambition for 5 cards. What
6
do we
cards.
see?
Let's see.
6 cards, it looks like.
There's a bunch of Rapid Strike cards there.
Wow.
Did he get to the 7? There's Scoop Up Net in hand as well.
Scoop Up Net can actually be a +1. You can pick the Malamar up that you just evolved as well to get that to be 1 more card in hand.
Yeah, 1 more card in hand, but +2 Rapid Strike cards, right? Because Scoop Up Net is not a Rapid Strike card. So effectively +2 towards your total damage output this coming turn.
I think it's there because of the Scoop Up Net onto this Malamar or onto the Inteleon will also do it with the Drizzile to find, and then you just can hold the Sobble in hand.
Yeah, hold the Sobble. You can use Drizzile to get something else, and then you have access to Inteleon on the next turn. But this could be a big opening for Wilfredo because Wilfredo knows Ross has that Inteleon in hand. So an option for him would be to boss his orders, the Drizzile, take it out, and maybe Ross doesn't have a response. But Ross here still trying to piece together this KO. Let's see if he's got the pieces. Needs 7 Rapid Strike cards. Is it there, Ethan? Does he have it?
It looks pretty convincing at this point. It looks like eyeing up the Brawly off of the Shady Dealings. And it looks like, I can't tell. It looks like that is the Sword and Shield Inteleon.
This is the seventh one right here. The Evolution Incense can get a Malamar out of the deck. This will be the 7th Rapid Strike card, and Rapid Strike Tentacles deals 280 damage to 1-hit KO the Whimsicott, and he can even bench the Sobble here. That is really nice for Ross. Boom, taking the knockout, 7 cards back into the deck. Goodbye, Whimsicott, and 2 prizes to Ross.
2 prizes. Ross still in this game after not much happening to start off. Responding with a 2-prize knockout. Things are looking super solid. Here comes the Whimsicott up. Did get the Psychic Energy off of the EXP share and also has double Turbo Energy in hand, so this will be attacking. And it really just now at this point comes down to what is the play the turn after for Ross? Is there a response knockout? And also importantly for Wilfredo, will we see a backup Whimsicott become a possibility as well?
Yeah, a second Whimsicott and a second EXP share would be really big because then you can follow up with another attack even if Ross does reach for a 1-hit knockout on the Whimsicott.
Yeah, I actually think there is no more Whimsicott because the last one is prized.
Oh, and discarded one early on in the game, right?
Correct. Yeah, there is none in the deck. I think that's the thought process of what do I even grab off of this Fog Crystal. We'll opt to grab the basic Psychic Energy as the commitment for turn. You don't need the double Turbo Energy to make things happen.
Yeah, Wilfredo actually does only play 1 EXP share, so his only other option to power up the next Whimsicott is going to be Raihan. That's how he'll have to power up another Whimsicott. Oh yeah, but like you said, there's not even another one in the deck, so you're kind of riding on this Whimsicott V-Star for the rest of this game. If it goes down, you will probably just lose.
Yeah, it does still have the Ordinary Rod in the list, I believe, to be able to put cards back in like the Whimsicott. It is still a possibility. So
That's what he's got to dig for here.
yeah, Crobat's going to help that become a little bit more of a possibility. You do still have 2 Industrious and Scissors, but when you get this late in the game, you played a majority of your Ultra Balls, your Quick Balls to thin the hands out. They're going to get pretty clogged up. It's going to be hard to draw a lot of cards, but things are going to start swaying. It looks like deciding to burn the Crushing Hammer just to flip, or it doesn't matter what you flip at this point.
Yeah.
It will looks like be a Tails. So
Yeah, the most inconsequential Crushing Hammer flip of the tournament, possibly.
Maybe. There's the Air Balloon down onto the Luminion. Can commit the Psychic Energy to this active. I feel like you have to commit energy at some point during the turn. You might as well just do it now.
Yeah.
Wilfredo going to do that.
And I like the decision as well to put the Psychic Energy here because you know to power up your next Whimsicott, if you set it up, it's going to have to be through Raihan. And there is the Ordinary Rod grab. That is massive for Wilfredo. Can put back a Whimsicott V. Maybe you just put back 2 Whimsicott V here and then hope to draw it off of the Crobat or your other Industrious Incisors.
Yeah, there is still 1 more Whimsicott V-Star in the deck, so you don't need to recycle another one. We are actually going to see the boss's orders onto the Drizzile.
That's a really good play.
Understands, like you said, the Inteleon is in hand. That is a potential play for Ross on the following turn. It will now be an unplayable card coming up on this on the next turn for Ross.
I don't think Wilfredo played the Ordinary Rod before drawing cards here with Crobat, so not going for the Whimsicott here.
Yeah, playing it now after is such an interesting sequence. I don't know what the purpose of playing it in that order, but at least now we'll get them back into the deck. If you can thin the hand a little bit more, Industrious and Scissors will be able to fill the hand up and maybe draw into one of these.
Yeah, I didn't quite see all of Wilfredo's hand. Maybe there's a search card already in the hand, so he knows that he'll be able to grab it out with like a Fog Crystal or Quick Ball, so he feels fine to just draw through. Is there a searching card there in the hand?
I think just riddled with a bunch of energy.
Ooh.
Wow, this is a big opening for Ross to take a knockout if the cards are there on this Whimsicott. And from there, Wilfredo will be left with no attacking presence whatsoever.
Yeah, if Ross can reach for a one-hit KO, if he can get to 7 Rapid Strike cards, there is no way that Wilfredo can knock out this Malamar on the next turn. Even if he powered up a Bibarel with a Raihan plus a double turbo energy, Tail Smash you gotta flip a coin for, and even if you hit heads, you're only dealing 80 damage.
Yeah, and even the Whimsicott V itself does not deal enough with the second attack to be able to take a knockout. So this is going to be a big-time choice for Ross. Now can finally play the Ordinary Rod to the fullest effect to get back the Psychic Energy and some more Pokemon in play, especially those Rapid Strike Pokemon. It looks like eyeing up the Sobbles potentially. Also has Drizzile discard pile because that Drizzile was just knocked out the previous turn.
Yep.
So this is where you got to make some decisions, and they can matter. They definitely can be consequential.
And I think Ross knows that he needs to reach for this KO here. If he knocks out this Whimsicott, there's really not much Wilfredo is going to be able to do. So shady dealings here. I totally expect to grab the Cynthia's Ambition. It actually looks like Ross already has Rescue Carrier in hand, which is an amazing card to play whenever you're trying to reach for big numbers because it adds 2 Rapid Strike cards to your hand. So
looking at this hand here, we know the Inteleon is in hand, so that is an unplayable card. So it's essentially a Cynthia to look at it as a Cynthia to 7 because you fill the hand up to 8, but one of those cards at the moment can't be played. Does grab Cynthia off of the shady dealings Drizzile.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a big, looks like 5 cards to fill this hand up to 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that last card is, if it's something Ross can play or not. I know he's got the Rescue Carrier and the Inteleon. You want to hold off on the Rescue Carrier until after. And looks like the other one is Karina's. So 5 cards here from Cynthia. Really wants to find a bunch of Rapid Strike cards. Could also find Scoop Up Net to pick some Pokemon up. There's a couple of Rapid Strike cards there in hand.
Pokemon Catcher and another Cynthia.
That's 2 non-Rapid Strike cards that he drew. I think he might be short.
Yeah, it's 1 card
I think
short.
he's only going to get to 6 here, and he's going to miss this knockout.
Wow, so heartbreaking to draw into 2 of the very few non-Rapid Strike cards still remaining in deck. Can't play Pokemon Catcher. If this flips heads, this could still take a 2-prize knockout. This is a big-time flip.
That's the Tails.
Wow. The Tails flip means that no Pokemon will be knocked out here. For Ross, committing the Psychic Energy means that Wilfredo now has an extra win condition to potentially close this game out because that Psychic Energy will be out of play the following turn. And only 1 more Psychic at play means this game is pretty much almost over because even if you knock this out the following turn, now with Wilfredo having an extra turn to set up Trick Wind, if you Trick Wind 1 more time, then things can get very dicey.
Well, it's still going to be on to Wilfredo to find the second Whimsicott next turn, right? So if Ross just 2-hit KOs this active of Whimsicott and Wilfredo's not ever able to set up another one, that's still fine. Ross doesn't mind that. He can still eventually close out the game. But if Wilfredo is able to bench another Whimsicott next turn, maybe even get an energy attachment onto it, then we're getting into the territory where things are going to get a little sketchy here for Ross.
Sketchy indeed. It looks like eyeing up what is in the hand. Has the Remoraid.
Yeah, Ross knows he's not getting a knockout here, so fine to just bench some Pokemon, try to set up for future turns. There is the Sobble. Something to be maybe a little concerned about would be like a Palpad play, try to get the Avery back. So maybe something Ross wants to be a little mindful of. I believe he did see the Palpad come out from Wilfredo in game number 1.
Looks like the hand will get filled up to full, or excuse me, the bench filled up to full. Benching the Sobble, benching Remoraid, wants to be able to put together a knockout on the following turn, and just going to swing for 120 damage. Not nearly enough to knock out this Whimsicott. We'll set it up for the following turns, but this has got to be a sigh of relief here if you're Wilfredo. You've gotten yourself out of the situation, but it's on yourself to, again, find a Whimsicott and get energy onto it.
So it looks like time here is being called, and the question is going to be, was time called before Wilfredo drew his card for turn? Because if time was called before Wilfredo drew, it is still technically Ross's turn, so Ross would be turn 0. But if Wilfredo had already drawn, now Wilfredo would be turn 0. So we need to get confirmation on that. And we have just gotten confirmation that Ross was turn 0. So he's only going to have one more turn in this game. And I think this just means,
over.
Yeah, Ross, this game will end in a tie, but that means Ross will win the set because Ross won game number 1 and game 2 is not going to complete.
Yeah, Wilfredo's deck has no way to take multiple prizes in a single turn because Ross only plays one prize Pokemon. Wilfredo can take 2 knockouts, but all Ross has to do is just pass the turn over as soon as he gets the turns, and the game will just be over. This game will end in the draw, but because the first game was completed, Ross was able to win game number 1. It's looking, unless I'm missing something here, that Ross will be able to advance to 5-0.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how Rapid Strike Malamar is. It can take a long time to play these games out. And Wilfredo's deck as well, you're doing a lot of digging with the Bibarels, with the Crobats and stuff like that. There's a lot of deck searching, a lot of shuffling that has to happen. And so all of those things just lead to longer games. So it looks like this game will not complete. Let's see if Wilfredo can put the pieces together. Would he have been able to get there if the game completed? I'm not quite sure. You're going to draw a couple cards with the Bibarel. I don't even know if he has the Raihan or not. So if the Raihan isn't there, it doesn't even necessarily... Or, well, it can actually just attach Double Turbo to the bench now, so...
Yeah, has Double Turbo as a potential option. Has the Whimsicott with the energy. If this game went maybe a turn longer, we could have seen Wilfredo force a tie, but I think Ross understands the situation. Still going to play it out to see if Ross can make this game a little bit closer to end things off, but this will be Ross's final turn, as this is turn 2 of time currently.
So yeah, this is really interesting because Ross can find a basic Psychic Energy and take a knockout, but I believe that would be his last basic Psychic Energy. Ordinary Rod is already in the discard pile. 1 basic Psychic is already in the discard pile. So if Wilfredo can pull together a Trick Wind on the next turn, Ross actually would not have been able to win this next game because there is no energy left for him to attach and attack with.
Yeah, this game is closing out to be something super interesting, the way that we are getting to this stalemate sort of play, and we're actually going to see Pokemon Catcher get grabbed, maybe trying to bring something up to buy the last turn of time. Again, Ross could just pass the turn over and the game would essentially be over. There is no way. Tails, unfortunate. I would like to see Crobat maybe come up and give a little bit of cameo in the active.
I think Ross is just trying to burn a non-Rapid Strike card out of the deck there with that Shady Dealings, so... Does that, gets rid of it, and now can draw 7 off the Cynthias. I do believe, was that Psychic Energy there in the hand?
I'm not quite sure. It looks like,
it looks like it's
it is.
there.
Got it, yep.
And has Rapid Strike Search still, has Intellion. So, I mean, he's cooking. He's got everything he needs to kind of chain together all the pieces this turn to get a knockout. Obviously, this Whimsicott here with just 130 hit points remaining, easy to go down, only needing 4 Rapid Strike cards to knock it out.
Yeah, this is going to be fairly easy to get the knockout. Shady Dealings grabbing 2 Rapid Strike cards, the Karina's Focus and the Brawly. Has a Psychic Energy, and we will easily see this knockout. Just needs to get rid of 4 Rapid Strike cards in the hand, 160 damage from Rapid Strike Tentacles. And hey, don't forget, you've always got Rapid Strike Search as well.
Absolutely, 1 more Rapid Strike card. Easy KO on Whimsicott, and you're also building up more cards for the next turn. You know, theoretically, obviously, Ross being turn 2 of time, meaning that there will not be another opportunity for him to take a knockout. But this will be Ross's last turn. He's going to go down swinging. Rapid Strike Tentacles for 160, enough to take out the Whimsicott. And let's see if Wilfredo would have had it. Does he have the double turbo energy and the Whimsicott V-Star to get the attack off this turn?
I believe I saw the double turbo already in hand, and it looks like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe not. It looks like top deck that there's the Whimsicott, though. Has 3 double turbo energy in hand. That should suffice.
More than enough. Wilfredo will take this KO, but this game will not complete. And Ross Cawthon will be awarded the victory in this match, winning game number 1, going to time here in game 2. Ross Cawthon is the victor, moving on to 5-0 at the Secaucus Regional Championships.
We haven't seen Rapid Strike Malamar top 8 an event in America yet in the United States. Is it time, Chip? Is this time for Rapid Strike Malamar to make the run?
It could be, in a very interesting list as well, playing the 4 Pokemon catchers. I almost said Crushing Hammer. Different flip card there. But yeah, 4 Pokemon catchers. Very unique decision there from Ross to put those in the list. And it paid off pretty nicely. We saw, especially in that game 1, targeting down the draw power of Bibarel. And just through and through, Ross played it very well. I think would have probably lost that game number 2 if it had completed, but that's the way the rules work in the Pokemon TCG. So Ross wins game 1, wins the set, and moves on to 5-0.
What an excellent set from both of these players. So happy we can provide that for everybody. I want to hear more from what Ross has to say after that match and talk to a